You know that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you think about the good old days? Well, it's not just a feeling anymore. It's actually a massive modern economy, and it's built on a pretty simple idea. Today, we're going to dive into the nostalgia economy, the billion-dollar business of, well, selling your childhood right back to you. So, let's start with a big question. What is a memory actually worth? To figure that out, let's start with a feeling. A feeling that, if you're from a certain generation, you probably know deep in your bones. It's that feeling that came right before a day of pure, unstructured childhood magic. I am talking, of course, about the golden age of the snow day. Just picture it. You wake up in the 90s, the whole world outside is covered in white, and you immediately run, not to your phone, but to the TV, with just one single desperate hope. See, this wasn't some private notification. This was a full-on communal ritual. The entire family, maybe even the whole neighborhood, was glued to the exact same channel, watching the exact same list of towns, all holding their breath together. It was this amazing shared experience of anticipation. Today, it's just an efficient little text alert you might glance at before you even get out of bed. But back then, the wait was part of the magic. Seeing your school's name finally pop up on that slow-moving scroll, that was a moment of collective victory that you just can't replicate with a push notification. And these aren't just random details. They are powerful emotional triggers, right? The feeling of wet socks after hours of playing outside, the very specific taste of those crunchy little marshmallows in the hot chocolate. And that emotional connection is exactly what gives these memories real economic value. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit. We're going to go from a universal feeling like a snow day to a single legendary event that ended up creating one of the most valuable collector's items in the entire world. Welcome to what was basically the dawn of esports. Yeah, long before Twitch streams and sold-out stadiums, Nintendo took a competition on a 20-city tour. This was the original live gaming spectacle. It was pretty much the only way you could watch other people play video games at a really high level. And believe me, thousands of people showed up. So the challenge itself was simple, but it was absolutely brutal. Competitors were handed this special NES cartridge, one that was custom-made just for the event. They had exactly 6 minutes and 21 seconds to prove their skill across 3 totally different games. We're talking a frantic, high-pressure test of pure gaming talent. And that custom cartridge? Well, it was never sold in stores. It was made only for this one tournament, which means it instantly became this coveted piece of gaming history. You know, the kind of holy grail that collectors dream about finding in some dusty attic. So, what's a piece of that history worth today? Well, the standard gray cartridges they gave to the finalists are already super rare, but Nintendo also made 26 even rarer gold cartridges for a magazine giveaway. One of those recently sold for over $200,000. That right there is the power of owning a tangible piece of a cherished memory. But look, this isn't just about some ultra-rare collectibles for the super rich. That Nintendo cartridge is really just a dramatic example of a much, much larger trend. The massive, booming economy that's built on our collective past. Just take music, for example. In 2025, vinyl records generated a staggering $1.4 billion in revenue, outselling CDs for 18 straight months. And you know who's driving this big comeback? It's largely Gen Z, a generation that never even grew up with records. In a world of endless streaming, they're looking for a more tactile, authentic, and physical connection to their music. And the scale of this whole thing is it's staggering. It turns out that 2/3 of adults are actively trying to buy their childhood back. We're talking about purchasing replicas of the toys, the clothes, the games they grew up with. This isn't some niche hobby anymore. It's a mainstream economic force. This craving for a physical connection is so strong, it's actually bringing formats back from the dead. Incredibly, in 2025, VHS tapes became a top search category on nostalgia marketplaces. The demand was so real that it led to the first major studio film being released on VHS in nearly 2 decades. Yes, a VHS tape. So, naturally, all this demand has sent prices through the roof. This Super Soaker, still in its box, cost just $7.97 back in 1999. Today, that same piece of plastic nostalgia sells for over $65. That's what you might call the nostalgia tax in action. Okay, so we've seen the power of marketing memories that already exist. But how are new memories, the icons of tomorrow's nostalgia, how are they actually born? Well, let's end on the fascinating story of how one of the most beloved characters of the 90s was almost a complete and total disaster.
All right, let's set the scene. It's March 11th, 1996. The wrestler Steve Austin makes his debut as the Ringmaster. He was handed these green trunks and this really bland persona that he absolutely hated. He knew it was a career dead end, so he immediately demanded a change.
So, what did the creative geniuses in charge come up with? This list of truly absurd cold-themed names. Can you honestly imagine a world where thousands of fans are cheering for Chili McFreeze or buying Fang McFrost t-shirts? Thankfully, Austin rejected every single one of them. See, the name that would go on to define a whole generation of wrestling fans, it didn't come from a focus group or some big marketing meeting. It actually came from his wife, who, seeing him just sitting there with a cup of tea, simply said this one line. And in that moment, an icon was born. And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought, doesn't it? Nostalgia isn't just about perfectly preserving the past. It's all about how we remember and reframe things. It proves that the next billion-dollar idea, the next piece of culture we'll all be paying to get back, it might already be a forgotten memory, just waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered.